I did miss what was happening at NA LCS, and yet while all that was happening, I was still trying to keep track of this, watching on Twitter and elsewhere, and popping it on Twitch, and I saw some very strange things I did not expect. So maybe you guys can kind of, we haven't talked about this yet, maybe you guys can kind of catch me up on why I saw some really unusual things.
I don't know how well we'll do saying why, and I actually don't even think...
Okay, so Envy beat... what, Immortals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Envy is actually right now. Okay, so right now, in my opinion, it's only 2 weeks in, so it's really difficult to evaluate teams. But they look like one of the better teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I think they're top half. When you look at their season last split, where they had like an insane number of best of three, like go to full 3 games. They had a decent game record actually.
Weren't they 1 game away from getting relegated? I think they were 1 game away from getting relegated.
They were 1 game. So was TL with double lift. Oh well, they didn't get relegated. They were 1 game away to losing to Envy or GCU to get it out. I guess. Well, either way.
But I mean, this is actually what I thought you were talking about. In the regular season, it came down to the wire in terms of whether they'd even be in the promotion tournament or not.
Yeah, because it was Echo Fox was in 8th, but they almost lost their spot to both TL and, if things broke right, Envy. And even then, like, Envy still got monster leads every game, and then they threw them away. And it's like, man, if this team ever just figured it out in the slightest, they're easily like an out of relegations team. And if they figure it out decently well, then they're suddenly a playoff team probably. And Pyrion's really good for them. Apollo's stepping up, and Lyra, for the most part, still Lyra. He did have a bad series that they won versus Team Liquid, and that's kind of like one of the first times we've ever seen Lyra just look bad.
I think that's really important, though, because if that team, and some of it didn't always come off of like these huge early game leads like we're used to seeing from them. So if they can actually communicate well enough to overcome a deficit and actually close out games, like you said, I think that's a really good sign for the team. I also think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Pyrion and Niski, because I know they had said previously that Niski was coming in for week 3, and I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not on the team, so I don't know how the scrims are going to go, but like Pyrion is really good at setting up for Lyra. And I think that if I was looking at this team, I'd keep Pyrion in, which definitely isn't something I thought I'd be saying at the beginning of the split because I wasn't high on either of these mids going in.
Oh, sorry. Peter's calling me right now on Facebook Messenger.
So we'll keep the show going. You can move away from the microphone.
Hi, I'm live on the air right now doing a episode of League Weekly. How can I help you, Peter? Yes.
Yo, wait, you can kind of hear him if you put the ear thing.
Yeah, you're on the show. I don't know if they can pick you up. Maybe I can put you on speakerphone. Okay, you're on the show.
All right, well, dude, Kelby's in town for E3. You want to get dinner today?
Maybe. I'll figure it out. Can I call
First
you back?
live call into the show, Yahoo League Weekly.
Can I call you back after the show?
Double Lift, what are your thoughts on Envy?
Content people come for, you know?
Are you serious? You're just going to do me like that?
Okay.
Double Lift, what do you think about Envy? Are they legit or is it...
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. Sometimes you have to take these calls. All right. Either way. So...
Travis's dinner plans. This is like why I tune every week.
Should I get dinner with Peter? That's the new topic. No?
I heard he's a boring dinner date.
Yeah, that's true.
So on the side of Envy, I'm a little scared for Pyrion because he keeps getting Talia, and he's shown that like not only is he good at it in lane and early roams and team fights, but he also uses it like to wall off objectives properly. So like that's just a really good champ for him. And his Ahri has been like a little hit or miss, and then we haven't seen really anything else out of him. So maybe he gets taken off that. And then their strength of schedule so far, like hypothetically, is pretty weak, playing teams like Envy, and then I think they beat Echo Fox and P1 or something. They haven't beaten very many impressive teams.
Yeah, they went 2-1 against Jig and lost. And then they beat P1, they beat Immortals, and they beat Liquid. So it depends on how you think of Immortals.
Which I think maybe we overhyped them a little bit. Or not you, obviously, but I probably overhyped them a little bit in week 1 just because they beat TSM and it looked pretty good when they did it. But that could, there are things such as flukes, and sometimes if a fluke happens in week 1, you overrate a team.
Kelsey, do you have a take on this stuff?
I mean, I was just going to say, and Niski can play Orianna. So between the two of them, they can almost survive the first ban phase. It's really good. Okay, I think Envy is really interesting. I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but I think that's something that's really important is just keeping mid pressured and mid pushed out. And so just like being willing to experiment in that regard can kind of make a team look a lot better if the region itself has been kind of wonky lately, and a lot of the games have been really questionable. So I'm really hesitant to say that any team in NA is like definitively top team right now, even. So like top half team or bottom half team, especially if they're on the cusp. Like I feel Envy is kind of on the cusp of top half if they're top half.
All right, so then also this weekend, there were some other strange things. Didn't TL beat Dig?
Yes, and in the sense that, like, oh my God, TL is the worst team in human history, like that kind of perspective, seeing them win a series is probably surprising. But
yeah, but also Dig had, like, both. The weird thing going into this is that Dig and Immortals both looked good, right? I mean,
well,
we
coming into this
thing.
weekend, yeah, like you saw Immortals beat TSM, you looked there pretty good. I don't think anyone was, like, super hyped on Dig last
I think
week.
Dig still has the issue that they... and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but when I look at their team fighting and when I look at how they try to pressure the map, I still think they're heavily reliant on Someday doing well. And if Someday doesn't do well, it's not good for them.
Shrimp subbed him this week. He did, like, some super, I won't say cheesy, but, like, if it misses, you get set far behind ganks. And for the most part, they worked out. This series versus TL, one didn't work out, and TL was actually able to use that to kind of, I think they won that game, right? Where he went bottom and Rainover came and they got like 1 for 2'd.
Yeah.
And then there was also when Chaser subbed back in.
I was going to say they also subbed back in.
Yeah, Chaser subbed back in, and then he died in Rainover's jungle, and then Dig's bot lane made like the dumbest trade in human history also. So like there was a lot of stuff going on this series where you're just like, wow, Dig is playing exceptionally bad, and like Team Liquid is looking a little bit better, so they were able to capitalize and actually win the series.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't like, if you watch that series, like super surprising that Dig lost, and it wasn't like, wow, what happened to Dignitas? It was just like, why would your bot lane walk up to trade with the jungler sitting in lane visibly after you dodge the gank, and then you flash in aggressively? It was like horrible to watch.
We're going to talk about P1 and TSM in a second, but I do want to ask, is there anything else about this weekend that was interesting that, you know, as I as someone who missed it, that you guys would talk about?
Well,
and when we were at lunch, it seemed like you guys were kind of down on the weekend as a whole.
Well, I just didn't think it was actually that crazy as you seem to think, because for the most part, it's like CLG and TSM are our best two teams. You could probably say that pretty confidently after this weekend.
You'd say TSM is?
Yeah.
I mean, they're 2-2.
Okay.
There are 3 teams that are 3-1.
Okay.
You just mean just looking at them?
Yeah,
I mean, they lost a game this weekend.
Yeah, they lost to Dig. They lost a series to Dig, and then Dig lost to TL. So what does that say? Dig's probably pretty erratic, and so is TSM. But I think what you would say is like the C9 victory over Echo Fox is probably the one that, if you haven't watched it, is like, ugh. Where both...
Oh, God. Yeah, that series is bad.
Because you're like, oh, man, C9 TO'd or 2-0'd Echo Fox. That's what you would expect. But one is like a 60-minute, longest game of the split so far, where like Echo Fox could have ended the game 4 different times with their 1-3-1. They never did it. They never pulled the trigger. C9, after crawling back in the game, play it decently well. And then the second one is like they fall 6 or 7K down by 20 minutes and then instantly win the game 3 minutes later for the fastest game of the split. And you're just like... C9 looks bad and Echo Fox looks worse.
Yeah. Is this not the way all NA LCS splits start, though? Where everybody, it's like, oh, man, it's all close and there's so much action and some of these teams suck. And then by like week 4, we'll be like, okay, these are the top teams, these are the bottom teams, and it'll stay that way.
I mean, it's kind of like that already, right? With like P1, FlyQuest, TL, I think most people would say like they're probably still your bottom 3 teams.
Yeah.
And I think you would say C9, TSM, and CLG are probably your top 3 teams, and everyone else is in the middle.
Kelsey, you had something.
I mean, I think that last year it sort of stayed that way with the illusion of parity for a really long time.
Last year or last split?
Or last split, excuse me. It sort of stayed that way with the illusion of parity for a really long time. So I didn't find it that surprising. I think that with Double Lift back and the TSM under pressure, like we always expect TSM to be a top teams, but it's not surprising to see them struggling with like which side of the map they're going to play around now, and having like Hansard sort of struggle a little bit more with a lot more pressure bot and the way that the team is flowing and things like this. So I think that it's not surprising to see TSM like this, and they'll probably pull ahead and still be one of the top teams. I don't think they're playing necessarily like one of the top teams, but I don't know who is. So it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.